One thing that's really important to us in the telling of the Mrs. Hawking shows is that we make the Victorian setting matter to the telling of the stories. It gives this real sense of context and makes the story much richer when the characters are actually influenced by the world and the workings of that world around them. So we work really hard to incorporate as many aspects of the culture as we can, from the customs to the clothes to the technology to the way of speaking.
Then you'll see. Who taught her cheek like that?
And any number of things that would shape who these characters are as people and how they move through their world. But regardless of the time period in which your story is set, you are always going to be writing for an audience who is alive right now. They're going to have the baggage and the preconceptions and the cultural references of modern people. They're not necessarily going to be experts in the little cultural minutiae of the time period that you're depicting. So there is a balance to be struck if you want to communicate effectively with your audience, capturing the truth of your setting while also speaking to your audience in a language that they understand, so to speak. All people have a certain understanding of signifiers based on their culture and their context in which they live. So many things that might have been present and normal in the time period that you're writing about may not make sense to people in the current day, or they might mean something entirely different when you look at it through those modern eyes. For example, one of my favorite examples is that Victorian taste in color combinations was wild. The 1880s were a time period where cheap and effective dyeing agents were just becoming widely available, and they were definitely not afraid to use them, often all at once. And unfortunately, a lot of those color combinations are not as appealing to modern sensibilities. You can tell from their decor, their house paint, and of course, their clothes. So we could say, dress our characters in all these wild patterns and a panoply of competing colors as might have been the alta moda of the day, but our modern audience might miss the impression we were trying to create. When we mean to say stylish lady, they might just interpret it as clown. The same goes for another passion of mine, that is, the designing of period dialogue. Folks definitely spoke differently than we do 200 plus years later. So part of the fun of this is capturing that idiom and that poetry of the way people spoke. And sometimes it's a really fun opportunity to use a turn of phrase we'd never get to in a modern context.
Can I help you, madam?
I've left my quizzing class. Is this the tincture of willow bark?
But other times we have to gauge whether turns of phrase that would be hip slang in the period would just sound straight up ridiculous to modern ears, and they wouldn't be able to take seriously the things that your characters were saying in serious moments. We doubt we'd get the reaction we wanted if we had characters say things like Kruger spoof when they meant lying, or crinkum crankum to refer to drunkenness. Now, I freely admit this may be kind of a cowardice on our part, a fear to trust our audience to read things in context and not be biased by their modern sensibilities, and I think that's a fair critique. I know I always kind of admire artists who are brave enough to give their characters like ridiculous period hairstyles or otherwise use styling choices that are unappealing to modern tastes. Or maybe I'm wrong and, I should bring Crinkum Crankum back. Have you ever noticed a detail in a period piece that looked really strange to your modern eyes? Did you find it appealing, or did it keep you from getting invested in the story? Let us know in the comments, and if you'd like to see how we handle the issue, you can see all of our shows for free here on our YouTube channel, @Mrs. Hawking.